When I was a D student, playing games all day, failing all my exams, being super lazy, I used to always sleep in, right? I would wake up at 11 a.m., 12 p.m., and I'd go to sleep at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. In fact, I probably never ever slept early unless I was just extremely tired. To me, back then, sleeping early was something that only old people did, and waking up early was something that only old people did. But once I changed this habit of mine, and once I started waking up at 5 a.m. at the start of year 11, that's when everything changed for me. That's when I was truly able to work on myself, to fix myself, and not only ultimately do well academically and achieve a 97 plus ATAR, but also become a better version of myself in all areas of life. I started reading more, I became smarter, I was able to work on my health more, just so many other things that came out of this simple habit. Well, it's not really simple, it's kind of hard to do, but it's a simple concept. So in this video, I'm going to go over why I started waking up at 5 a.m. and why you should, do the same. And also what you actually get out of waking up at 5 a.m. So I hope by the end of this video, you're going to be motivated enough to wake up at 5 a.m. But not just that, you're going to know exactly what to do. Because listen, if you're a student right now who is not doing well in school, but who wants to make a comeback and achieve a 90 plus ATAR, you need to be waking up early, right? And I'll explain everything in this video. So no BS, let's cut right to it. Let's start off with why even wake up at 5 a.m. You might be looking at me saying, oh, no, this guy is crazy. He's out of his mind. I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. Hell no, go away. But before you do that, before you even click off this video because you're sick of hearing this already, listen to me very carefully. Waking up at 5 a.m. is so powerful because when you wake up in the morning that early, you have the strongest willpower. When you wake up at 5 a.m., your willpower is the strongest. There's no distractions. It's quiet. It's not like people in your house are up and awake and ready to go. And even if they are, then it's not like they're making so many sounds and they're so energetic. It's not like that. When you wake up at 5 a.m., you are able to get more things done because your willpower is the strongest. Compare that to waking up later, for example, when you sleep in. Tell me, is your willpower strong? No. When you sleep in, most likely the first thing you do is what? You open up your phone, you scroll, then it takes you hours to even get to your desk and study, because your willpower isn't that strong anymore because you've woken up so late. And by the way, this is not just me saying this, it's actually scientific too. You can do your own research. It is also scientifically proven that when you wake up early in the morning, like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., your mind is the clearest, right? You have zero distractions, you're more locked in, and you're more in the zone, which allows you to get more things done. Now, when I started this habit of waking up at 5 a.m., I was still a failing student. So it's not like I started waking up at 5 a.m. when I succeeded. Even when I was a failing student at the start of year 11, I was like, you know what, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. Okay. Now, because I woke up at 5 a.m., I was able to get ahead of the competition, right? Because I did have a lot of competition. I was competing with people in my school who have been getting, tutors since year 7 and have been getting a 90% in all the exams since like year 7. Like I had to compete with these people. And that's why I woke up at 5 a.m. because it allowed me to get ahead. So when I was up at 5 a.m. studying, they were sleeping. And by the time I finished studying, they had just started studying and etc. And I'm telling you right now, it is because of me waking up at 5 a.m., especially me, I have a big family. Because I was able to wake up at 5 a.m., I was able to get things done when no one else was around, when everything was quiet. And that way I was able to just get ahead of everyone, right? Think about this for a second. Let's say you wake up at 5 a.m. and you get 2 hours of study done, or even 1 hour of study done. Imagine how much that's going to build up over the whole year. Just think about that for a second. If you were to study, let's say wake up in the morning and let's say wake up at 5 a.m. and you study for 2 hours. So from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., for example, if you did that over a whole year, that would be 730 extra hours per year. Just think about that for a second. If you are serious about beating your competition and winning and actually succeeding and getting the ATAR you want, you need to be waking up at 5 a.m. And look at all the most successful people in the world. They all wake up at 5 a.m. If not 5 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. The point is they wake up super early. Now, on top of that, the final reason why I personally woke up at 5 a.m. was because it allows for a slow morning, right? When you wake up at 5 a.m., you can take your time in the morning. You don't have to rush. You don't have to do all these random things. You can just start, relax, do all the habits you want to do, and still get study done. So that's why you should be waking up at 5 a.m. and why I woke up at 5 a.m. Now, the second thing I want to speak about is what I actually did at 5 a.m. Because you might be thinking, okay, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. What do I do now? Here's what I personally did. And obviously you can modify however you want. So to be honest with you, I didn't just study. In fact, some days I didn't study at all. What I did at 5 a.m. is when I woke up at 5 a.m., the first thing I did was obviously have a shower, freshen up, all that stuff. But then I jumped right to journaling. That's the first thing I did in the morning. I journaled, I planned out my day, what I want to get done today, any thoughts that are on my mind. I just immediately brain dump everything on a journal. And by doing this, you wake up with a clearer mind, right? You get any junk out of your mind, and your day becomes more intentional, because if you go to your journal and plan out what you're going to do today and write down what you're grateful for, it makes you happier, but you're also more intentional about the day. And that's a very big concept that I need you all to understand. A lot of you aren't intentional enough, right? You need to be more intentional. So by me waking up at 5 a.m. and then journaling and writing out what my intentions are for the day, it allows me to get more productive that day, because now I know what I need to get done. I can make a whole nother video on journaling if you want, but that's the first thing I did. Journaled. Then once I journaled, I read a book. I read a book for around 10 to 30 minutes, depending on the season, if I had exams or not exams, but I would 100% read in the morning every single day. Reading in the morning to me was so important, because my brain absorbs all the information in the morning. It's very fresh, right? Once I've finished reading, the third thing I did was I would review my goals. This is essential. So every morning I would review my goals of getting a 95 ATAR, of getting X amount of marks and getting X ranks, and I'll review that in the morning. And then I would visualize myself getting this goal. Now you might be thinking, but like that feels too much, like visualize and then you journaled. Remember, if you wake up at 5 a.m., you have time to do all these things, and they're so important, right? So, I used to have my goal ATAR on like a sticky note like this, and I put it, on my computer. I would also have like my own document with, what I want to achieve in life and all that stuff. And I would read that and I'd visualize myself actually achieving those things, which kept me even more locked in for the rest of the day, because I just imagined me achieving those things. And then finally, once I've done those first three things, so once I journaled, read a book, read my goals, and visualized, I would then study. I would study for around an hour in the morning. And what I would do is typically review my flashcards or test myself in some sort of way. So flashcard is one way of doing this, but if not that, I would, for example, just test myself by reading the information and then recalling it, right? Because again, your mind is freshest in the morning, and by testing yourself in information, it really does strengthen your memory. And one last thing, by the way, is I didn't mention this because it should be obvious. Never, ever, ever go on your phone first thing in the morning. Do not wake up at 5 a.m. and start scrolling. That is such a stupid thing to do. You're going to ruin your entire morning. Don't do that. The next thing I want to talk about is the mindset shift. Okay, so a lot of you watching this video might be thinking, cool, I want to wake up at 5 a.m., but I'm just not a morning person. Bullshit. I don't want you to think like that. Even if you're not a morning person, doesn't mean you can't wake up in the morning. That's the biggest thing that I did that allowed me to wake up at 5 a.m. And I'll speak about how I actually wake up at 5 a.m. and how you can do the same towards the end of the video. But let me just make it very clear. If you tell yourself that you're not a morning person, then you're not going to be a morning person. If you tell yourself that I can't wake up at 5 a.m., then you're not going to wake up at 5 a.m. It's that simple. So shift your mindset right now. Shift your mindset and tell yourself that, you know what, I am someone who can wake up at 5 a.m. I am someone who's capable of waking up at 5 a.m. That's what you have to do. So that's the mindset shift. Finally, let's speak about how to actually wake up at 5 a.m. How do you do it? Now, before I tell you how to do it, I need you to understand this is coming from someone who never ever woke up at 5 a.m. And this is coming from someone who used to love sleeping in. And this is coming from someone who was so lazy. So if I can do it, why can't you? It's that simple. So let's get started. So very, very pinpoint how to actually wake up at 5 a.m. First of all, like I said, you need to shift your mindset. Stop telling yourself this coping BS. Just stop. Okay, you can do it. The first thing you need to do is you need to set the right bedtime. This is so important. So for example, if you're going to wake up at 5 a.m., then you should get at least 7 hours of sleep, right? So let's say you go to sleep at 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 7 hours of sleep. Or let's say you're someone who wants to get 8 hours of sleep. You have to sleep at 9. Let's say you're someone who gets 6 hours of sleep. You have to sleep at 11. The first thing you need to do is you need to figure out your bedtime. And this is so important in, rewriting your sleep and fixing your sleep. It is actually all about the bedtime. And that's a big thing, right? A lot of people, they want to wake up at 5 a.m., but then they sleep at 1 a.m. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do that. So the first thing I need you to do is I need you to set a bedtime and then get your phone and set an alarm for that bedtime. So for example, if you want to sleep at 10 o'clock, set an alarm every day at 9 p.m. saying, get ready for bed. That's what I did every single day during year 11 and 12. So that way you can remind yourself to go to bed. Okay, it all starts with the night before. So it is essential that you sleep at the right time. Now, when it comes to sleeping at the right time, again, I have a whole nother video on this. I'll put it somewhere up here about sleep. But when it comes to sleeping at, let's say you want to sleep at 10 o'clock, 1 hour before that, don't get any work done and don't go on your phone. Just really prime yourself to go to sleep. Again, I have a whole video on sleep. I'll put it up in the, at the top or in the description down below. So the first thing is it starts with your bedtime. Figure out the bedtime you need and sleep at that time. The second thing, and this is the essential part, and this is where most people give up. When you first start waking up at 5 a.m., it is going to feel impossible. For example, let's say you always have the habit of sleeping at 11 and waking up at 9, for example, 9 a.m. hypothetically. If you're going to now change that to 5 a.m., it takes time for your body and your circadian rhythm to adjust to that new time. So here is the key to resetting your sleep schedule. You need to force it. That's the truth. So for example, if you want to start waking up at 5 a.m., let's say tomorrow I want to start waking up at 5 a.m. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to try to go to sleep at 10 p.m. Now, because my body is used to sleeping at 11 or 12, it might take longer to sleep. But nonetheless, no matter how many hours of sleep I get, no matter how tired I am, I will still wake up at 5 a.m. using an alarm. By the way, I recommend using the app called Alarmy. It's the best alarm app. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. and I'd force myself, no matter how tired I am, to stay up from 5 a.m. till the whole day. Now, this is where most people quit because most people think, no, I'm too tired for this. I just can't do it. But you need to persevere because if you stay up from 5 a.m., no matter how tired you are, you're going to be able to go to sleep at your desired time easily because you're so tired throughout the day. And that's how you wake up at 5 a.m. And that's how I did it. So when I first started, trying to wake up at 5 a.m. at the start of year 11, it felt impossible, right? I woke up, I was tired. But then one day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to force myself to do it. And when I did force myself to do it, it was extremely hard because I was very tired. But then after 2 to 3 days, I was able to easily sleep at my desired bedtime and wake up that time because my body is now adjusted to it. It's that simple. That's how you wake up at 5 a.m. All right? Figure out the bedtime you need to have, sleep at that time, wake up at 5 a.m., stay up from 5 a.m. You're going to be tired, yes, but do that for 2 to 3 days and you will adjust to that time. So there you have it. That is the 5 a.m. habit that will guarantee your success. Now, I just want to say one last thing before I end this video. If you want to win and you want to beat people, you need to wake up earlier than them. And again, I'm speaking to that average student. I'm speaking to that low performing student. You have no right to sleep in. Like there's a reason why you're failing. There's a reason why you're so average. It's because you do what everyone does. No one wakes up at 5 a.m. No one likes to wake up early. No one likes to do anything I've said in this video, but that's why you need to do it. And that's why you will be able to succeed. Just think about it for a second. Waking up at 5 a.m. means you're able to get more done while other people are sleeping. And when I say more done, yes, studying is one part of it, but even if you weren't to study in the morning, even if you were to just, read or do other productive habits, you're still getting ahead of like 99% of people. So please do this habit, especially if you're serious about success. It's a habit that I do till this day. Even just today, I woke up at 5 a.m. It's currently 7 a.m. in the morning. It's just so productive. And when you wake up, don't go on your phone, just be with yourself. Even go for a walk, even exercise, even go to the gym. The point is waking up early is the best thing you can do for yourself. So there you have it. That's that. And if you're a low performing student who wants to make a comeback and achieve a 95 plus ATAR, then check the first link in the description below. I have a free training that you can watch. It goes over kind of what I do with students that helps them get insane results. Okay. I'll see you in the next video.